across the country. In less than 4 weeks, or about 4 weeks, we've seen a lot of death that has been caused by the flooding across the country. And some people have felt that we've not seen coordinated government response in terms of what is happening. Is it time we declare this a national disaster, or what is going on?
Well, thank you very much. Of course, the first thing today is to once again express our condolences to those people who have lost their lives. We are talking about, the figure is not yet conclusively established, but we are going to an official figure going towards 40. Those are very many people. We condole with their families, friends and relatives. And once again, we pledge that the government is on the ground, our security agencies, the normal ones. Also, we have had support from our Kenya Defense Forces. Everybody is concentrating effort on search and recovery, alleviating the pain of those who have been injured and availing them treatment. And also, all measures are being put in place for those who have been displaced by this tragedy. I would want to inform Kenyans what we know so far is that this Patel Dam has been in existence for over 50 years, that the farm and its neighbors have been having coexistence with a lot of people in the village which was flattened, depending on the farm for employment in terms of agriculture, productivity in very many areas, dairy, horticulture, and the coffee farming. And we also know that there are alleged to have been complaints about the position of this dam, and what we are informing the public that all these issues will be investigated and action taken to ensure that this kind of tragedy does not occur in future. And as one of the first measures to stem this, we have asked all the county security committees to liaise with the county governments and carry out an audit of all areas of concern. Of course, we have seen unprecedented levels of rainfall this season, and we must admit that whereas the meteorological department has predicted rainfall, the magnitude we have seen, you remember those fissures in Mayo area, the kind of water levels we have seen even in the Tana Delta and all other areas of the country was not really expected. But as we move on from here now, what we would want to see is every sector cooperating, both at the national government level, at NGO level, at county government level, all civil servants working in tandem to ensure that any areas identified as threats. We have so many people who have, because of long periods of drought, made settlements on natural waterways, where any overflow of water, any flooding, any flash floods find their natural course. Every effort should be made to remove them, if need be by force, before we lose further lives. We know that there are people who have been crossing in the village parts, you know, on small rivers and streams. Now these are big masses of water. We would want from the sub-chief level to see a lot of vigilance, so that children going to school, members of public going about their ordinary life, their lives are not endangered. So the monitoring mechanisms, we have adequate systems on the ground. And as a government, we believe that with the proper cooperation, a lot of these deaths can be prevented.
And maybe back to the dam, the Water Resources Authority has actually declared that particular dam illegal, and we understand that investigations are going on. Why haven't we seen yet any arrests made so far?
As I have told you, this is a dam which has existed for over 50 years, and going by its magnitude, you must look at all matters involved from very many angles. Making a dam with over 2 million, reportedly, milliliters of water safe must be something which requires budget, It must be something which requires a lot of feasibility studies, and going by what the farm has been doing with its neighbors, health services, schools, we have to wait until a proper systematic inquiry is done before we pass a value judgment. People 48, when people are mentioned in tens who have died, it's a very annoying matter. It's the public annoyance is understood. The outreach, why nobody did something before this happened, is very well understood. And let us wait for a full inquiry, and let us not be in a hurry. For example, we have heard that there has been noticed faulting in the Rift Valley. The lakes, even during the drought, have been having unusual water levels. Look at Lake Bogoria, Lake Nakuru, Lake Naivasha, and others. And therefore, let us give it to them. Maybe it is an accident. Maybe somebody criminally neglected to take measures to protect lives and property. The most important thing is that we hold these people to account. Let us not be emotional about it. It's very hard not to be emotional about 40 people dead. But as a government, the assurance we are putting in place, you saw 2 cabinet secretaries, they are going there very early after the disaster. Let us give a chance for a systematic inquiry so that we shall deal with facts. And of course, these are works of hydroengineering, civil engineering. Let us have the experts give their opinions. What the government is making every effort to do is that it becomes very fast. We don't wait for weeks and months before we are able to give the public a properly accountable explanation and action plan. What we would want to hasten to tell other Kenyans is that now we have a lot of families who are not living where they have been living. We have a lot of families who are traumatized, who have been uprooted, and the first responders have done a wonderful job so far. The government is also moving in to ensure that everybody is catered for, but other persons of goodwill should also move in and see how we can come in to ensure that those people who have been affected, especially those who have been uprooted, are enjoying a level of life that makes them feel they are human beings amongst other human beings.
All right. And now back to the question, with this having been declared illegal, moving forward, what about other structures, other dams across the country, so that we don't see a repeat of this? Why is there no real action that is, like you're saying, people are responding to what has already happened, but now what is the way forward when it comes to ensuring that such a tragedy doesn't happen, considering that this particular structure has been declared illegal?
The fact that this dam was declared illegal, the structure was declared legal, will be followed to its logical conclusion, and there will be consequences. But we don't want to be publicly judgmental as at this point in time. It has its own legal implications. You don't want to go to court tomorrow and somebody is saying that a cabinet secretary, the government spokesman, promised vendetta. Let us follow the proper process. What I would want to tell the public is that those dams which are in control of the government, like the Seven Forks and so on, there has been very close monitoring and proper management. And we are asking, and we have the county security committees have been directed to carry out proper inspections of these places, because there are so many alternatives of draining any overflowing dam without causing loss to the owner, because also the government is very keen on preservation of water. Within the last 1 month, we have been giving millions of gallons of clean, good water to the Indian Ocean every hour, and we cannot afford this in a country where we have cycles of drought and rain, and therefore, without prejudicing the capacity of private and public institutions to preserve the water, we would want to see measures taken. I'm sure it would not have taken a single life if the owners of those dams would have drained it on time to stem a situation where it is overflowing, where the weight of the water overcomes the banks. And therefore, we admit as a government mistakes have been done. There is a lot which needs to be done. But at this point in time, let's focus on those people who are suffering, as the relevant arms are focusing on accountability.
Right. And maybe before I let you go, one last question. Now that you mentioned that the government is keen to ensure that Kenyans have adequate water, we know the situation that is going on in Dakaine. Nairobi residents are set to, actually go without water for a long time. In the future, do we have as a government any plans to ensure that Nairobi residents have alternative sources of water, so that after such rain, they will not continue experiencing water rationing in Nairobi?
It is very unfortunate that well, it's an act of God that these good rains have come before the completion of the northern collector channel. You remember that hullabaloo about tunnels of death? It is unfortunate because we believe that it is at this kind of point in times that the National Water Master Plan had contemplated that all the water coming from the Abadeas, the excess water now which is causing flooding down the Tana Delta, this is the water scientists had envisaged could get into the Dakaine Dam, could get into other reservoirs in Nairobi. There is also another dam which is supposed to be built around Roilo, pumped there, so that in the next 5-6 years nobody is complaining of water. But as it is, the best of efforts cannot really stop the will of God. You know, we are not really in control of rains as such, but we believe that if we get this kind of rains 2 years down the line, we shall be able to harvest all that water. Remember, there is Dwake Dam under construction. We have the other dams in the Rift Valley, and the government has planned for this. It's only that this rain has come, but we believe that at the pace we are moving with in the future, this water will be able to be stored. It is also the government's policy to encourage private farmers like Patel and others to ensure that they harvest this water. But of course, they have every responsibility. They have legal obligations to follow designs, to follow regulations, so that you don't create a dam to irrigate water and it ends up killing Kenyans.
Thank you very much. That was the government spokesman, Eric Urai.